Why Ibrahim Traoré put African women at the center of sovereignty. Hello everyone, and welcome back. What if the future of African sovereignty does not begin with presidents, armies, or institutions, but with women? What if the most radical political message today is not about power, but about who carries the cost of survival every single day? In Ouagadougou, before women from more than 60 countries, President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso delivered a message that went far beyond ceremony. It was not praise. It was not symbolism. It was a strategic call. He spoke about hunger, migration, broken families, and a continent losing its children, not in abstract terms, but through the lived reality of women. And then he made a claim that challenges how power is usually discussed, that African women are not on the margins of independence, but at its very center. Tonight, we're going to unpack why this message matters, what it reveals about Africa's struggle, and why sovereignty may depend more on women than the world is willing to admit. Stay with me. Dear friends, Ibrahim Traoré's address to African women was not framed as a celebration. It was framed as a reckoning. From the very beginning, he grounded his message in lived experience rather than ideology, pain, sacrifice, and responsibility that are often invisible in political debates. He spoke first of motherhood, not as sentiment, but as evidence. Pregnancy, childbirth, and the long years of raising children under economic pressure were presented as proof of resilience. In Traoré's framing, women are not simply participants in society. They are its shock absorbers. When systems fail, it is women who absorb the impact. This is why his message immediately moved beyond rhetoric. He spoke of the daily humiliation of not being able to provide food, of watching children suffer, of witnessing young people attempt dangerous journeys because dignity feels unreachable at home. These were not isolated tragedies. They were symptoms of a deeper problem: dependency. For Traoré, sovereignty is not a slogan. It is the difference between a child staying and a child leaving, between life built at home and futures gambled elsewhere. And he made a point many leaders avoid. This pain is felt most sharply by women. But his message did not stop at diagnosis. It shifted quickly to responsibility. Traoré argued that before Africa confronts external pressure, it must confront itself. Division, mistrust, and silence weaken any claim to independence. He was explicit. Africa does not speak with one voice, and that failure begins internally. This is where women enter the political equation in a new way. He did not describe women as victims in need of rescue. He described them as unifiers, as peace builders, as voices capable of calming conflicts and influencing decisions. When women speak, he said, leaders listen, not because of authority imposed by force, but because of moral weight earned through sacrifice. This framing challenges conventional power structures. It suggests that authority does not only come from office or uniform, but from credibility built through endurance. From there, Traoré turned to economics. Not in the language of finance, but in the language of production, agriculture, processing, industry. He spoke of raw materials not being transformed locally, of markets flooded with imported goods while African resources leave unprocessed. And again, he placed women at the center. Women, he argued, are uniquely positioned to lead this transformation, not by accident, but by discipline, patience, focus. He contrasted women's approach to capital with men's tendency toward diversion and short-term thinking. His message was blunt. When women are trusted with resources, they use them to build. This is why he spoke so directly about entrepreneurship, not as empowerment theater, but as infrastructure. Small-scale industry, food processing, local production. These are the building blocks of independence, and they are most effective when rooted in communities women already sustain. Traoré also made a strategic move by opening Burkina Faso explicitly. He described it as a country still in the process of building, an invitation rather than a finished project. Women across Africa were encouraged to invest, to start businesses, to take part in shaping something new. This is important. It shifts the conversation from aspiration to participation, from support our vision to help build it. But perhaps the most striking part of the speech was its insistence on unity over confrontation. Traoré did not frame women's empowerment as a weapon against external actors. He framed it as a cure for internal fragmentation. Conflicts across the continent, he argued, persist because hearts are hardened, dialogue breaks down, and communities turn inward against each other. Women, in his view, are uniquely capable of reversing this, not through force, but through persuasion and connection. This is a profoundly political statement. It suggests that peace is not imposed from above, but negotiated from within families, communities, and networks women already lead. That unity cannot be commanded, it must be cultivated. For an American audience, this may sound unconventional, but it reflects a different understanding of power, one that prioritizes sustainability over spectacle. Traore's confidence in women was not rhetorical. He explicitly stated that programs are being designed to support women, especially in rural areas. Access to water, spaces to produce, means to process raw materials. These are not abstract promises. They are structural interventions, and they align with a broader strategy we've seen from Burkina Faso, linking sovereignty to production, dignity to work, and independence to daily life. The speech also rejected the idea that women's empowerment is a single day or a symbolic gesture. Every day is Women's Day, Traore said. That line carries weight because it rejects performative politics in favor of continuity. Most importantly, the message reframed protection. Women, he said, protect families, and through families, they protect Africa. This is not metaphorical, it is strategic. Stable families create stable societies, and stable societies resist manipulation. What emerges from this speech is a different vision of leadership, one that does not center dominance, but responsibility. One that understands sovereignty not as isolation, but as the ability to provide for one's people with dignity. For those watching from outside Africa, this message challenges assumptions. It reveals that Africa's struggle is not only geopolitical, it is social, economic, and deeply human. And it makes a claim that cannot be ignored, that any future built without women at its center is not a future at all. So this was not a speech about appreciation. It was a strategy. Ibrahim Traoré's message to African women made one thing unmistakably clear. Sovereignty will not be achieved through declarations alone. It will be built through production, unity, and the quiet strength of those who already carry the heaviest burdens. By placing women at the center of Africa's future, he challenged old models of power and proposed something more durable. The question now is not whether women are capable. That was never in doubt. The question is whether systems will finally trust them to lead. Because when women shape economies, heal divisions, and anchor communities, independence stops being a promise and starts becoming reality. Thank you for watching.